Good morning. I'd like to welcome y'all to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tullahoma. Welcome to those of you who showed up in person on this bright sunny day, and to those of you who are on Zoom, and those of you who are joining us via YouTube. We gather and worship to find meaning and live more deeply. Worship creates connections within, among, and beyond us, calling us to our better selves, calling us to live with wisdom and compassion. And I do want to say a lot of this I got from the UU website, which Carrie turned me on to. Would you feel like lighting the chalice? We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. Thank you, Carrie. Announcements. P-Flag meets the second Monday of each month here at 6 p.m. Next week, our speaker will be Rabbi Rami Shapiro. There is also what we are calling the first and we are so creative that this is our title, the first and third creative Saturday of the month group. That tells you how creative we are. But we'll be doing just all different kinds of things. You can do your own thing. You know, we might have somebody come in and teach a class, but you don't have to if you don't want to. It's just more fun about just doing a little bit of creativeness and having a lot of fellowship.
What time?
I am sorry. I'm glad you asked that. That is from 2 to 4, the first and third Saturday of each month. Are there any other announcements? Announcements from Zoom? Jim?
Just one announcement. We will have a board meeting today, our regularly scheduled board meeting, following talkback. Take a little break, 5-10 break, 5 to 10 minute break, and then have talkback. Then have the board meeting after talkback. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other announcements? Carrie?
I think our next creative workshop is going to be on watercolors, right?
I think so, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we don't know what kind of watercolors, just, bring something. Let's see. Reading of the day. Come In From the Wind by Heather Rion Starr. On this day, as with so many Sundays, we come in from the whirling world, the winds, the bright sun, the push and pull of tides and time, from the tumult of global news and local stories, the pain we hear, the demands on our spirits, the do this now culture that we live in. We come into the sanctuary from that windstorm, the rushing of speeding drivers on the roadways, the rustling silence that fills out some of our homes, the vastness of a once busy and perhaps now quieter house. All this can leave us feeling stirred and unsettled. When we give our attention to what's going around and beyond us in this throbbing world, we can feel wind blown. We need places where we can come and find our grounding once again. Come in from the whirl. May this be a place where we can experience genuine stillness, even for just a few moments. May this be a place that we can count on as we turn into the driveway of our congregation. May we feel pulled into a restorative time of energetic peace. May this be a place of learning, of nourishment, a community that generates a new zest in us. And I would like to I lose my words. I would like to introduce the Reverend Dr. Michelle Pedersen. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good bring my own little light. Sometimes it's really dark, but it seems to be okay here. It's good to see you all this morning. Thank you for joining me when it's so lovely out. We backed out and Dave said, "Is that the sun?"
No.
No, it's not. Earlier this year, I introduced the labyrinth during an adult religious education series. Then, over the summer, I took 2 different groups on a tour of some of the local labyrinths in Nashville. A labyrinth is an ancient symbol that's been found around the world as far back as 4,000 years, maybe even longer. Many consider the labyrinth to be a sacred symbol. However, the exact origins and the original uses of the designs have been lost to history. There are 2 main styles of designs. The classical pattern is thought to be the oldest. The more well-known, though, is the medieval style, and that's the one that was laying into the floor of, in the early 13th century, into the floor of the Chartres Cathedral in France. A labyrinth is not a maze. Instead, a labyrinth is universal. There's one path that leads always to the center. There are many turns and switchbacks, yet there are no dead ends. Simply put, a maze is designed to make you lose your way, while a labyrinth is designed to help you find your way. On our tour, we visited 4 labyrinths. One of them was a 40-foot outdoor labyrinth in the classic style. It was nestled in a small area beside a church and surrounded by trees and bushes and flowers. The path was grass, and it was edged with different sizes and types of rocks. On one side of the labyrinth, there was this enormous plant that was bent from its own weight, lying across the outermost circuit of the path. During our walk, one person simply stepped over the plant. She had really long legs. Another pushed it aside and continued on the path. When I reached it, I paused and took a really good look at it. And I noticed that the weed was actually quite beautiful. It was covered in all kinds of beautiful leaves and an abundance of berries. I stepped onto the adjacent circuit and moved around the plant to continue my walk. When presented with challenges or barriers, my common response is to eliminate whatever it is that, to my view, is impeding me. When I first saw the offending plant, I thought it should have been cut down so that it wasn't blocking the path. However, during my walk, it provided me an opportunity to pause, to notice the beauty, and to shift my perspective from obstacle to opportunity. There was no need to fix anything. As someone on our tour stated, yes, everything doesn't need to be fixed. How do you generally manage obstacles in your life? What is your stance when presented with a challenge? Is there a pattern in how you respond to barriers? Reflect just a moment on how you might have approached the weed in the labyrinth, or how you responded in a recent challenge in your life. Sometimes there really isn't anything to be fixed. The plant was exactly where it should be, and was precisely what I needed that day. But what's needed instead of fixing is a physical or a metaphorical shift in space or perspective. In the labyrinth, I made a physical shift in space to move around the plant and made a shift in my perspective and how I viewed the situation. Pema Chodron, an American Buddhist nun, writes, "When we start to meditate or work with any kind of spiritual discipline, we often think that somehow we're going to improve, which is a subtle aggression against who we really are. It's a bit like saying, if I jog, I'll be a better person. If I had a nicer house, I'd be a better person. If I could meditate and calm down, I'd be a better person." Or the scenario may be that we find fault with others. We might say, if it weren't for my husband, I'd have a perfect marriage. If it weren't for my boss and the fact that we can't get on, my job would be great. And if it weren't for my mind, my meditation would be excellent. She continues, but loving kindness, Maitri, toward ourselves doesn't mean getting rid of anything. Maitri means that we can still be crazy, we can still be angry, we can still be timid or jealous or full of feelings of unworthiness. Meditation practice isn't about trying to throw ourselves away and become something better. It's about befriending who we are already. The ground of practice is you or me or whoever we are right now, just as we are. That's what we come to know with tremendous curiosity and interest. When you earlier reflect upon how you generally approach a challenge or obstacle in your life, did you also attach judgment to what you noticed? Many of us automatically jump to a judgment of ourselves, that our way is good or bad, or that we should or shouldn't have done or be doing it that way, and believe we need to somehow fix or change something about ourselves. That, Chodron suggests, is a subtle aggression against who we really are. The Reflection in Me is a lovely animated film in which a young girl looks into the mirror, blows her bangs out of her face, hangs her head, and starts to walk away. When her reflection in the mirror says, "I like being you. To me, you are perfectly perfect." A conversation between the girl and her reflection ensues. The reflection tells the little girl about all of the wonderful things about her. The girl's perception of herself clearly shifts during the conversation. How often do you say to yourself, "I like being you. To me, you are perfectly perfect"? I hope you do so regularly. I suspect, however, that many of us instead more often criticize ourselves for how we look, what we say or don't say, what we do or don't do. What would it be like, instead of criticizing, we told ourselves all of the wonderful things about ourselves that are also true? I heard this definition recently that's really stuck with me. Gratitude is the practice of noticing what is there, rather than noticing what is not. Tara Brach, a therapist and a Buddhist meditation teacher, describes the all too common experience of believing that there is something wrong with us, that sense of not being good enough. She calls this living in a trance of unworthiness, which defines and delimits our experience of life as we continuously replay our worries and plans. Inherent in the trance, according to Brach, is the belief that no matter how hard we try, we are always, in some way, falling short. Being in a trance of unworthiness. believing that there's something wrong with us that needs to be fixed, is a subtle aggression against ourselves. Loving kindness, according to Chadron, though, doesn't mean getting rid of anything. It's about befriending who we already are. The ground of practice is you or me or whoever we are right now, just as we are. What if that's true? That there's nothing to fix about you, about me, about anyone. That instead, what's needed is a shift in perspective or philosophy, a movement out of the trance of unworthiness. Instead of fixing, we accept ourselves with compassion. A therapist, Casey Davis, in a TED Talk, discusses the link between care tasks and mental health. Davis described her experience giving birth in 2020, losing all of her support network because of the COVID shutdown, and her days turned into breastfeeding difficulties, toddler meltdowns, and depression. During this time, the dishes and laundry piled up so much that there often wasn't a path to walk through her home. As a result, she lay in bed thinking, I failed. Maybe I can't be a good mom to 2 kids. She started posting videos online about her struggles with maintaining her home. Thousands of people commented on those videos with their own stories. She heard from people with depression, ADHD, autism, burnout, and bereavement, all struggling with these daily tasks. In this talk, she illustrated the numerous decisions that must be made in order to accomplish any one of those daily basic care tasks. Now, many people make those decisions on autopilot, but for millions of others, that autopilot is broken. Davis developed a philosophy based on the simple idea that cooking, cleaning, and laundry do not make you a good person or a bad person. Care tasks are morally neutral. She states, yes, it can feel like a moral failure believing you are lazy, irresponsible, or immature. It is not about morality, though, it's about functionality. According to Davis, when we liberate ourselves from the idea that we are a good or bad person with care tasks, we can stop thinking about the right way to do things, about the ways that things should be done, and instead start thinking about what we can do with our current barriers to improve our quality of life today. And once you realize care tasks are not moral failings, you can find solutions that work for you. Davis suggests asking yourself, what am I trying to achieve, and how can I achieve it in my way? A shift in philosophy. There is no moral way of doing care tasks. Instead, there are simply different ways of getting them done. Find your own way. You are worthy, and doing those care tasks in your own way allows you to leave that trance of unworthiness. Embracing who you are and what abilities you have is practicing loving kindness toward yourself, and it is compassionate. Becoming aware of our own patterns helps us to understand how we relate to ourselves and to others. That awareness allows us to be more selective in what we choose to do or not to do. recognizing that I don't need to be fixed. Instead, I need to be more compassionate with myself and practice loving kindness toward myself and others. Brock writes, "The way out of our cage begins with accepting absolutely everything about ourselves and our lives. By embracing with wakefulness and care our moment-to-moment experience. By accepting absolutely everything, what I mean is that we are aware of what is happening within our body and mind in any given moment without trying to control or judge or pull away." This is quite different than the premise of the self-help field that insists that we need to fix something about ourselves. The focus instead is upon accepting ourselves as we are for who we are. Or, as the famous shame researcher Brene Brown puts it, living with authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. Accepting ourselves, realizing we don't need to be fixed, doesn't mean that we just ignore issues. Another labyrinth we visited on that tour I told you about was slightly larger. It was a 48-foot classical style outdoor labyrinth. The path was also made of grass. The edges, however, were brick laid into and flush with the ground. On the day we visited, the grass had not been cut. The group became stumped in the labyrinth because the path could not be seen in the tall grass, and we ultimately had to abandon our walk. A labyrinth with in-ground bricks is easier to care for than the rock-edged path because it can be simply mown at the same time that the rest of the lawn is mown. Though it is simple, it is easier, it still needs to be maintained. The labyrinth path is easily seen and walked when mown. If ignored, the overgrown grass makes walking the path impossible. As with everything, maintenance is necessary. Feeling compassion for ourselves in no way releases us from responsibility for our actions, states Brock. It releases us from our own self-judgment so that we can fully respond to situations. I hold myself with compassion, knowing that I can both cause pain and still know that I am worthy of love and belonging. I can hold myself with compassion while also attempting to repair harm that may have been caused. According to Brene Brown, practicing courage, compassion, and connection in our daily lives is how we cultivate worthiness. Courage is about putting our vulnerability on the line, to risk getting close to others and to share our experience with one another. When we are courageous with others, it opens space for another to also practice being courageous. There is maintenance necessary, accepting ourselves, practicing compassion, practicing courage, pausing, noticing, allowing. Loving kindness meditation is another way to open toward compassion for self and others. As we close this morning, I invite you to join me in a loving kindness meditation practice. You may want to close your eyes or cast your gaze softly out in front of you. Allow yourself to remember and open to your own basic goodness. Silently say to yourself the following phrases, offering prayers of care to yourself. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I accept myself just as I am. May I be happy. May I know the natural joy of being alive. May I be peaceful and at ease. As we begin to open the circle of loving kindness, bring to mind someone that is dear to you. Silently offer them these words of loving kindness. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you accept yourself just as you are. May you be happy. May you know the natural joy of being alive. May you be peaceful and at ease. Enlarging the circle of loving kindness, bring to mind someone for whom you feel neutral. This may be someone you don't really know, someone you just see when you're out. We silently offer them loving kindness. May you too be filled with loving kindness. May you accept yourself just as you are. May you be happy. May you know the natural joy of being alive. May you be peaceful and at ease. We continue to enlarge the circle, bringing to mind someone with whom we have a difficult relationship. Notice whatever arises in you as you think of this person. Hold yourself with compassion as these thoughts come to your awareness. And now bring to mind some aspect of this person's basic goodness, their humanity. Sense that this person also does not want to suffer. Hold them gently and offer loving kindness. May you too be filled with loving kindness. May you accept yourself just as you are. May you be happy. May you know the natural joy of being alive. May you be peaceful and at ease. And now allow your awareness to open in all directions. Sense that your loving presence is holding all beings. May all beings be filled with loving kindness. May all beings be free. May all beings know the natural joy of being alive. May all beings experience deep peace and ease. Slowly open your eyes Return gently to this room. Thank you, and may it be so.
Michelle. That last part reminded me of, it was the second, his second Bush was at the George W. I didn't like him. It was really Cheney I didn't like, but I didn't like him. But then I saw some artwork, and some artist friends of mine were making fun of his artwork. But I saw all these animals that he painted, and I thought, somebody that can paint animals with that much love has good in them, you know. Yeah. Thank you so much. That just came to mind. I haven't thought of that in years. Our closing statement, and I found this and I liked it, and then I looked at the author of it, and it was Roddy Biggs, who many of you may know, who used to speak here. So our closing statement: friends, thank you for your witness to all that exists on the margins. Thank you for your commitment to hold yourselves and to one another in great and steadfast love. Moving forward from this space, may we continue to nurture spiritual growth. May we continue to travel along the winding pathway to healing from whatever brokenness we individually and collectively hold, knowing that we do not journey this path alone. And so if you will stand, and as you're willing and able, we will sing 414.
As we leave this friendly place, love give light to every face. May the kindness which we learn light our hearts till we return.
Okay, so we'll break till about